Hello. Awesome. Listen, sometimes we're having such a good time in the green room, we forget to hit go live because that's what's kind of happening here. But we look good, we sound good, we're here for you. I got an awesome panel of really awesome authors, and I will use the word awesome one more time for good measure. Let me formally introduce this week's awesome panel. Getting someone to say yes to joining your launch team is only the beginning. One of the biggest mistakes authors make when setting a review goal is assuming most people who join their launch team will actually read the book, follow the instructions, and post a review. Sorry, this is making me chuckle because they won't. Even
Because
people,
it's so true.
even
No.
people who are genuinely
hard at the
excited about
beginning.
your book get busy. They forget. They mean to come back to it. Some will read the book and just never post a review. Others will leave a star rating instead of actually the written review, which is what you were hoping for. Getting Amazon reviews is hard. That's just the plain of it. If you want more than 20 written reviews, you're going to need a much larger group of people supporting your launch, and you need to follow up a lot with them. That's why I recommend building a launch team roughly 3 times the size of your written review goal. So if you're aiming for 50 reviews, you're going to want to get 150 people on your launch team, and that means you have to plan to actually stay in touch with them throughout that launch. Probably have to ask like 200 plus people to get that 150. Following up, though, remember, it isn't about pestering people because they volunteer to support you. They set the intention. Your reminders help the people who intended to leave a review actually get it done. Now, I've used this approach for all of my own books and with my launch clients because I don't want authors just crossing their fingers, hoping enough reviews appear. I want them to have a strategy that supports the best intentions of their launch team members. If you're going to want help creating that launch strategy to get that 50 or more Amazon reviews and create a pipeline for your book to your business, always happy to schedule a complimentary 30-minute book launch brainstorming call. Go to booklaunchbrainstorm.com. And now, let's meet our amazing, awesome panelists. Angie Callan wrote Scary Good, Discovering Life Beyond the Sunday Scaries, a guide for people who dread the start of the work week and are ready to rethink the relationship with work and create a more fulfilling career and life. Bill Soroka wrote Rethinking the Notary, the estate planning professional's guide to partnering with credentialed notaries to expand reach, reduce risk, and deliver an exceptional client experience, a guide for estate planning professionals on working strategically with credentialed notaries to better serve clients while extending their reach and reducing risk. Renee Rubin Ross wrote Inclusive Strategic Planning for Nonprofits, a 5-step process to expand energy, alignment, and opportunity, a practical guide to helping nonprofit leaders create a strategic planning process that brings more voices into the conversation and builds greater alignment around the organization's direction. Please join me in welcoming Angie, Bill, and Renee. Angie, I'm going to kick things over to you. Let's hear who are the people you had in mind as ideal readers for your book, and welcome to the show.
Thank you. How much time do I have after the entire show was consumed by reading the longest collection of book titles ever?
No, terrible, right?
Oh, on a serious note, thanks for having me. It is really a good time around here. You'd be surprised how a nonprofit professional, a former engineer, and a notary can actually be fun people. And, in a way, I wrote my book to encourage people to kind of have more fun in their lives. And so the average American experiences the Sunday scaries or Sunday night anxiety 36 times a year. So by the time you subtract Monday, holidays, and vacations, essentially everyone is always allowing Mondays to ruin their Sundays. And what I set forth to do was to write a book that would inspire people to think differently about the choices that they make and how they design their life and work so that it can be more intentional now instead of waiting to have life when you're 62 and a half and retire.
Oh, I appreciate that. And yeah, it's going to resonate so much for people listening. Hey, Bill, speaking of long titles, your subtitle is such a good descriptor for your book that I was trying to figure out a sentence to describe your book and basically just recycled all the same words. It was really like, using the same words to describe the thing. But it is so spot on. Great job. Bill, book 45, I guess you figured it out. Bill, welcome to the show.
I'm sorry to exasperate your breath as you were reading that long subtitle. Yes, thank you. It's such a pleasure to be here. And Angie, wow, I can't wait to read your book because as an entrepreneur, I have a new relationship with Mondays that I'd love to advocate for. And I just love that you're bringing that conversation to the table. Guys, I wrote Rethinking the Notary, which really is written for estate planning professionals and legacy planning professionals. And when the whole world right now is talking about AI and technology and how to build this business and where to go, I take it back a little further to the old-fashioned relationships, because when you tap in to a professionally trained notary who's tapped into their community, they have hundreds, sometimes thousands of people in their community that need estate planning and don't know where to go, and they can be an excellent referral source. Plus, you reduce risk, you bring your brand closer to what people want these days. We're in the convenience economy, and people just don't want to go to the office to sign important paperwork. So this is shining a new light on a very old-fashioned industry.
You know what I love is that you're so entrepreneurial in how you approach something that for a lot of people is like a checkbox, like getting something notarized. Like it doesn't seem complicated, but they're super networked. Like they're in the business of all people's businesses. Like such a smart thing to think about how to expand that and make it just even more useful and find ways to connect people. So beautifully said. Renee, let's hear from you a little bit about who you wrote a book for.
Yeah, I think the one of the commonalities is like, how do we do things better, right? And for all of us in writing a book. So what was happening with us? We lead strategic planning and board governance processes for nonprofits in Northern California and around the country. And we were getting a lot of questions because some of the stuff is really complicated. How do we bring people together? How do we get people to listen to one another? What's involved in the process? Even what kind of food should you have at the retreat? Do you need to order your food ahead of time? All these kinds of questions. So the book actually came just from me writing it down, writing more down, and then realizing that, okay, while this could be useful for our clients, it could also be really, really useful for people around the country and around the world who are wanting to do planning on their own. So, yeah.
You know what I love, Renee, is that your book came out of a desire to provide something useful to the people you're already working with, and then realizing maybe this could be extended even further. But now I'm curious, looking back, how much of a big leap forward was that in effort to go from like, the Google Doc PDF handout to a book that people who don't know you are able to read?
Oh my gosh. Well, I think for anyone writing a book, if you knew everything that was involved in the journey, you might think twice, but it has been so rewarding to have it out in the world. So it feels really worth it in that sense. But yeah, I mean, it's more complicated. I think it actually, part of our work is about how people process information in different ways. People participate in different ways. And so that comes out in the book, and it came out in the writing of the book too. And, and how because not everybody, people were asking for information that I hadn't thought of when we had some beta readers read it. So it became better because of feedback.
Right.
Yeah.
I love that you included people along the way. Angie, as you were creating your book, similar idea. I'm like, this is something you I feel like when I talk to you about this topic, it's like a passion project. You want people to be thinking about this. You want them to know there's another way. They don't have to stay stuck. But again, making a decision to turn that into a book, how did you make that leap? And then looking back, did you know what you were leaping into? Yeah.
I don't think anybody knows what they're leaping into when they write their first book. This is my first. But I will tell you, and I think I said this to you before, that writing it, in my opinion, was the exciting, the fun, and the easy part. It is, launching is like, I have not done it, but I think like giving birth, and then now I have this child who I must keep alive for 18 years, right? But the writing part itself, like Renee, came out of content that was already being developed over time. And all of a sudden I had a big smack in the face on how to kind of put two things together that I didn't realize went together until I had the aha moment. Because this is a passion project because it's my own lived experience. Two, making choices that were hard in the moment but completely changed my life trajectory to put me in a place that maybe has had harder things to it, but I am a much more whole, satisfied human because of it. And so years ago, I started writing a weekly newsletter called Combating the Sunday Scaries: 7 Tips to Improve Your Week. And eventually that evolved into, here's 7 antics Angie and her husband got into in the mountains of Colorado. And even if you live in a 54-story high rise, you can understand something from this. And it really started resonating. And what I realized is I had also been trying to kind of write the story and the journey of my own. But who wants to read a memoir about Angie Nobody Knows Who She Is Callan? And so I was able to put the two together into something that became a memoir and a guide, and kind of this study of the human experience with learning opportunities and tools, but not necessarily a framework on how somebody out there can rethink where they're at and maybe get to a better place.
So I just want to pause on the idea of the memoir being useful in a business context, because I think people sometimes get a little lost in this. And it was a learning for me. I learned two terms: narrative nonfiction and prescriptive nonfiction. And the idea is that, yes, there's a story, mostly yours, but there's lessons, there's takeaways. And I think that's what helps connect it back to a business. If you involve other people's experiences and other case studies, then I think it really can stand even more on its own. One of the things I always wonder is, like, when I think about what to include in the Kindle Flash sale, it's like, we don't take just like straight up memoirs. And people are like, well, how do you know if it's a memoir? I'm like, well, if we remove your story, is there anything else? Like, if we move your story and it's blank pages, there's like nothing else you will look at. So the takeaways, the like giving people something to look at and react to, including other people's stories, I think it translates your learnings to other people's lives in more concrete ways. And as a speaker or a coach, I think people will have less imagination about how to use that. So it's very cool. But of course, we're all building off our lived experiences. Speaking of which, Bill, I feel like every time I turn around, you've got another book coming out. Earlier, I joked about book 45. I think this is book 8, and you're working on book 9. Am I right?
Yes, that's correct. Thank
so
you
learned a thing, and you're like, let's turn around and share it. And so, like, it's become part of the way you process information and get information out. Are you learning as much during the process of writing as you were on the first? Like, you were like, I know a lot about this topic, and then you go and you work on it as a book, and does that then reveal more to you, or like how does this all work? Because I feel like your benefit as well as you helping all of us.
Absolutely. So I think for me, I get to share a lot of the practical information that I picked up in my industries, of course. But I truly believe, even after my first book, that who you become by writing a book is the experience. And it does not stop. At least it hasn't stopped for me. Working on book 9, I learned so much about myself, about the world, and you're constantly thinking about other people. Like, it's a very empathetic process, writing and publishing for others. So it's been a very, without getting too woo-woo, I think it's a very spiritual experience. It is my spiritual way I'm giving back to the world, and I'm really tapped into that, trying to figure out, like, who am I in this world? What is my purpose? What am I supposed to do here? And I don't have the complete answer yet. I just know that writing is a major part of that. And so whatever comes through, comes through. And I'm following the inspiration. I've really tapped into giving time to it. Like, it's now become my priority. I am a writer, and that's what gets the most attention now. And that is opposite of when I first started with my book.
Yeah, that's such an interesting thing. I still struggle. Like, I don't, it's not even a struggle. I don't identify as a writer first. Like, I'm an author. Clearly, I'll claim that. Done that 4 times. But, like, to me, it's not the medium I would lean into. And it sounds like for you, like, it's a way for you to channel how you show up in the world.
This is my canvas. And that's how I present it. Like, this is just how my art, how I show up to the world, how I share it.
That's awesome. I'm so glad that you found that, because we all
Me too.
benefit. Renee, I'm going to come over to you, ask about the success metrics that you originally thought you were going to keep an eye on when you were starting on the book. What was important to you? Like, if the book does X, I'll know it was, that was success. And did that change when the book became a thing that was real and you could actually share it with people? Did that shift in your mind what you thought of as success for the book?
Yeah, it's so interesting. I mean, I think there's a range of, honestly, I had a range of success metrics. Honestly, just publishing the book felt like, oh my gosh, I got it out of my brain and on paper and all the drafts and all the typos and everything like that. Beyond that, it's been out for 6 months. And so what I'm working on now is getting 1,000 copies out into the world, with the idea that if I could get 1,000 copies, that it can, start to create a recommendation loop. I'm working on that. I don't think 1,000 copies have been published yet. But the other piece of it is just, as a business person, and as a consultant and entrepreneur, it is a door opener. There's no question about it. We already have had a lot of great work that we're doing, but it's kind of upped it to another level. And that, for me, that actually is one of the key success metrics. I know, and I've really thought about this year. I'm not trying to sell books. I am trying to sell consulting. That is what I do. That's the way that we support people. I love having the book, in the sense that people who might not buy a 5-figure contract can go out and DIY this. So there's a lot of different levels that people can access this information. And I think success, it's still evolving, basically, which is very exciting.
I love the piece about 1,000 books as a goal, and I also want to just point out that, like, self-published, independently published books, I think it's like 100 in the first year, 300 in a lifetime. So if you've surpassed 300 books in 6 months, you're like a superstar already. Like, just keep going. And I think it's just a reality check. Like, if you're like, 10,000 copies, no problem. It's like, oh, that's not how this works. Particularly when the goal isn't individual sales so much, it is reaching the right people. And I love that reframe for you, that the purpose is selling consulting. And like me, I also feel like the more I educate my prospects, they can DIY. Some of my best referrals come from people who follow the process in my book and then tell other people they should just talk to me and have me do it, because that was a lot of work. And they like say all that for me. And it's like so great, because then I get their referrals come to the call kind of ready to really jump in. Angie, I have a similar question for you about sort of how you were thinking originally, the purpose of the book in relation to your business, and how that may have evolved now that the book's been out.
Yeah, so I published just before Renee at the beginning of the year, and I think we're pushing 600 copies published, which, I'll be honest, I don't know that I had a metric. For me, it was, this is a story I want to give people, and I want to put it in as many hands as possible, not to sell it, but to give it. And one of my goals was to be an Amazon #1 release, and I was. And so that told me I had a story that people would want to have in their hands. And so it's a qualitative outcome or success metric, but it did mean something to me. And since then, I've actually won 3 Indie Book Awards. And so for me, it's more about, I think, the quality and getting the reinforcement that the quality of the story is there has been really, really meaningful to me. But the biggest thing is hearing from an individual reader that it inspired them. There's multiple of these, but in particular, I know one reader who spent 15 years at a company all of us would recognize, making a ton of money, and read my book, and after 15 years decided it was time to make a change, right? And I'm not saying I'm trying to make everybody quit their jobs, but I am trying to get people to kind of take control and agency and make, positive, intentional change. And that, to me, is the success behind it, especially both human Angie and coach Angie.
I really appreciate that. I had a client who she didn't mean to have everyone she worked with leave their job, but it just kind of became a pattern. She was not a career transition coach, but she helped people realize what they wanted. And if they couldn't find it where they were, they felt compelled to go look for it. And yeah, sometimes that's the nudge people need. Bill, I'm curious about how you market multiple books. Like I have 4 books, and I sometimes find this challenging. Like, there's always the book I'm sort of presenting in that moment because this is the most recent book. It's the book that's relevant to the moment or something like that. But then I'm always, it's a little taken off guard when someone's like, yeah, I read your book. And I'm like thinking the most recent one, right? And then they're like, yeah, croissants versus bagels. And I'm like, oh, you did? That's awesome. And I was like, wow, that's in 2017. And I'm like, when? And they were like, oh, 6 months ago. Someone told me about it. And I'm like, that's amazing. But like, I'm so not ready to, my spiel is like a little stale for that book. How do you approach balancing having all these great books, all these titles in your kind of repertoire without them being lost, but also not overwhelming people? I mean, just sheer volume wise, they're like, whoa, 9 books, or 8 books. Like, that's all. Okay. How do you focus this?
I have no idea. It's a terrible question. Actually, it's an awesome question. Yeah, I struggle with it. Like, it's not easy. Luckily, I mean, on the business side of things, everything kind of falls under what I call the notary umbrella, so I can make it work. I'm really good. Like, my superpower is connecting dots. I can connect dots for people, so I'm pretty good at that. But it's still a challenge to keep the books in front of people. And then to your story that you just shared, I hear almost daily, like, hey, I just read your book. Thanks. Wow, that was great. And then they ask a specific question. I'm like, and I feel like I'm so obnoxious. And I'm like, well, which book did you read? Like, I've got 8 of them out there. Like, it sounds over the top. I'm like, God, that's not how I mean it. I mean, I'm like, could you be more specific, right? Like, so it is a challenge, and I'm really working on different ways to do that. But I will share one marketing strategy that I've started, and it doesn't require too much more time or energy. But I just started bundling some of my books. Some of the ones that fit the same genre or a particular topic, and even using KDP and Amazon, I'm able to do that because I could send those author copies individually to people. So I can sell a bundled copy that matches. I have a new notary starter bundle, right? It's my 5 books for this. So I market and I promote that in one way, and then it's super easy to leverage. So I'm learning new ways to keep the book fresh, open to new audiences. And I think that's the key. And that's a trap that so many authors and content creators fall into. Is we start to think everybody's already heard our story, but that's not true. There's so many people who have never heard of us, have no idea what we're doing. So we have to keep creating these novelties of new opportunities and products for them.
Kim Groshek was on the show recently. I interviewed her. She's one of our often returning authors in the Kindle Flash Sale, and she's written over 70 books. With a 70. And she has a library page on her website that is a if this then that page. So it has she has them sort of grouped, kind of what you were talking about. And at the top, it sort of asks you some questions, and then that directs you to like which of these, I guess I'll call them bundles, to use your phrase, to go to. Because they all sort of fall into themes, and some books could actually be packaged into different bundles, right? So she does all this work, and then instead of, I mean, she usually sends people to one book at the end of a conversation because she thinks of the book that would be best for them in that moment. But people who want to know more, instead of being like, here's my Amazon list, she sends them to this page, which gives them a kind of a journey to map through. I think that's a really interesting.
Brilliant.
Yeah. So Renee, I saw you were interested in jumping in.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I've been thinking a lot about this. I could see. I mean, it's interesting. There are people who sort of have I wrote my book and I'm done. I do not at all feel that way. I actually feel like I know what the next book would be, and it's I just need to kind of sit down and get it out, and it could very much be aligned, because we have more clients who have more questions and more things they want to know about, and how to do these different kinds of inclusive processes, how to bring out different perspectives in the room. So I am interested in writing more books. I think it's for me, the question now is like, okay, or maybe my thought is I'm gonna spend a year promoting this and just sort of stay focused on this at least for a while, and then start to roll into potentially, but again, it's like, well, what's the best use of my time given being pulled in a lot of different directions. But I love the idea of one book supporting another. I think what starts to happen. And Bill, I'd love to talk to you offline about your writing, more about your writing process too.
Yeah. Angie, I'll come to you in a sec. I just want to say the best advice I got for selling book 1 was to write books 2 and 3. Yeah. So Angie, what did you want to add?
And on that note, yeah, I think there are definitely people out there who wanted to write a book, and it fits into likely a business application for a very specific use. I am not one of those people, and what I found is that the first book creates the hashtag next book syndrome. Remember that whole thing where it was like next vacation? I feel like it's next book, right? It could really become an addiction if you wanted to, because it is so fun. So like Renee, I know and have started my second book, but I also have to temper the compulsion to like just run with it, because I also know it needs to like sit in relationship to this, Scary Goods release a certain way. But it really does become like an itch that you're like, oh, it's time to put another one out there.
I'm curious about how quickly the two of you are turning your attention, because like you said, 6 months ago or so, 7 months ago, or earlier this year, you just, released this book. And I always think it's, the word rude comes to mind. Disconcerting would be a polite way to say it, when like on launch day or at your launch party, a question comes in that says like, what's your next book? And you're like, just gave birth. Can I please? Like, what? I mean, it's just like, don't ask a mom of a newborn when her next child is going to get born. Like give it to at least the first birthday, and then you could have that conversation. Maybe you have a relationship. But that's what it feels like. So I'm amazed that like you are on record now, just at 6 months shy of that 1 year mark. You're like, yes, like hashtag next book. I mean, I love the energy, and of course you will take some learnings and apply it forward. But Bill, let me bring you back in here. Did you have something you wanted to add?
Oh, well, I was going to say, it is, I can liken it to an addiction. I think it was, Angie, did you just say that? Because it really is that way. But also it links back into the previous thing I said about who you become when you write, because there's so many obstacles and beliefs that we have inside that you have to overcome to write and publish a book. And it keeps coming up, and all the demons keep showing up, and all the ones are like, who do you think you are? How many freaking books can you write about notaries? Like, nobody's going to read. Like, all of this stuff that you have to overcome, and that growth is absolutely worth it. But the thing that I have learned through my process too is that because I love the process itself, I have to keep writing. And what I learned from Stephen Pressfield, who wrote the War of Art and Overcoming Resistance for Your Creative Process, whatever it might be, is that the best thing to do after you finish your book is to start the next one. And I have literally followed that, because as soon as I finish, there's this, and I love that Angie started the analogy with birth. I have no real life like association with this. I have no right to talk about this, but when I have put a creative piece out in the world, that's what it feels like. It is going out in the world, and I have gone through creative grief after I've released it. So it's something that's very special to me, and I love being able to start the next one as soon as I'm finished, because it helps bridge that gap a little bit.
I'm gonna take us in a slightly different direction, but I think I'm bridging off this because I recently had a conversation with someone who did not want to devalue their book by lowering the price. And this has come up a few different times over the years. Of course, I organize a Kindle flash sale, which is how the four of us, I should count myself, four of us have found ourselves here today. And Bill's talking about like how deeply how deeply he feels about the release of this book, putting it out into the world. And it is such a process to do and to let go, because no more tweaking, no more editing, no more final edits. Like now everyone else is going to react to it. But you also want people to get the book, and it's not even about the money if you think about it, but some people have trouble with that. So I'm going to go to Renee and then Angie, because I think for people this is your first book and it's precious in a way that maybe, it feels different when you've got lots of books in the roster. But so Renee, how do you approach wanting to get this book out there and like believing the value? And you also lowered the book to 99 cents. I'm sure you even give copies to people. Like, how do you juggle all that?
Yeah, so the key idea of my book is that people's voices matter in what's going to happen next. And that is an idea that is just like super powerful for us in our work, that we really deeply believe. I want to get that. My goal is to get that idea out into the world and to make that idea of people's voices matter in planning. They will care more about what's going to happen next if they are consulted and get to weigh in on what's going to happen. And that's what's described in the book. So like the more that I can get that idea out there, I am less concerned about whether it's 99 cents or it's $9.99 or whatever it is. I'm just trying to get the book out into the world, and I feel so proud of it. So I will go to a dinner party with other consultants and take 10 copies and put them on the table and just share it and say like, keep it, or or give it to someone else. I am trying to get it out into the world. I love the cover. It really feels very like I had my designer create the cover. It is people of different colors and backgrounds being part of planning. And it really is aligned with our work as well. So I feel really proud. It's, as I said, if the purpose for us is really to amplify our work, not to sell books, which is just really way too narrow.
You're reminding me that during the pandemic, I discovered I had just so many copies of my books in my house, because I had so many copies when I thought I was going to all these in-person events. And then the next book I bought more. I was like, oh my God, what am I doing with all these? And I tried coming up with all these creative ways, but I didn't want to mail them. So I find that whole process annoying. But I've been going to so many conferences lately. I'll walk in with 10 copies of each book and find someone, like based on a conversation, I will pull it out of my bag and be like, you know what, here, I think this is the book you need. Or I'll like be introduced to a table at a dinner and I'll like say, hey, I have books here if anyone wants one. Oh my God, the conversations that happen because you give people like a $20 book, right? Yep. It didn't cost you $20. Like they were in my house. It was not useful if they're sitting in my house. Angie, how do you mentally approach this idea of the value of the book, price of the book, and getting the message out into the world?
Similar to Renee, to me, I would rather someone read the book than not buy the book. And so I think that's the point, for those of us trying to put stories out into the world. And also, I know where this does and does not fit in my business and revenue plan, because my 85-cent check from Ingram Spark last month isn't going to do jack from a grocery bill, right? And so whether you're charging $13.99 a book or $29.99 for a book, let's be honest, it takes a lot to actually create real revenue from a book. And so at that point, I'd rather more people get the inspiration than sell one extra kind of $20 book. Plus, frankly, former engineer over here just did the math. How much is it going to be to print it? How much are they going to make me, like, how much do I have to charge for it in order to pay for the printing? Just became the price tag. And it's pretty much kind of that straightforward in my mind, because it's an investment in putting a story out there and an investment in a brand builder, to which I don't ever look at the black and the red of.
I'm always like pleasantly surprised because I have like the other income part of my accounting software, and I quarterly try to clean all that up, and I otherwise do not look at what is coming in. But sometimes I don't do it for a quarter, and then I look at 2 quarters, Wow, it's even nicer when I look at 2 quarters combined. It's like I might be able to buy dinner with this. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's great. But like, yeah, no, it's cumulative effort. Bill, you were one of the very first people to sign up for the very first Kindle flash sale I ever did. I think you threw every book you owned at that time, every book you'd written was in there. This is going back a few years. There's been quite a few more books since then. It's evolved quite a bit. You've seen, I think, the evolution. I joked that I simplified the onboarding and then I complicated the campaign and then I simplified the onboarding again. I keep tweaking. What's your reason for participating, and why would you say to another author, like, this is where you could do some good marketing? Like, how does it fit with the marketing plan you think about?
Yeah, great question. And I love being here. First of all, I mean, get to meet and hang out with authors like this. But before I answer that question, Robbie, I got to go back and talk about what Renee and Angie got to talk about too, because I think this is a really important topic. And one of the I think the pitfalls for first-time authors especially is getting too caught up in the price and charging for your book, right? Like the whole oh, it's $20. You gotta pay me $20. I don't know, Venmo's out. Like, I get the need to in the value of putting a value on the book, but what in my experience, having an abundant mindset of giving the books away to people who want them has generated far more. I mean, tens of thousands of sales because I do give that book away. And just like you were talking about giving books away at dinner parties, I bought a special carrier for the my SUV that's really nice, and it's enclosed so the books don't get dusty, because I hate dusty pages on my books. So that was important to me. I'm a little OCD when I need to be. And I will drop them at every Airbnb I stay at hotels. I'll do that. I'll slip the gratuity in the book, and I'll just write a nice message to them, like, thanks for the hospitality. I love little free libraries. So if I see one, I'm like skidding to a stop, and I'm like, all right, I'm going to pull this out, and I'm sticking them in there. And I've just started writing, dropped by Bill Soroka at whatever the little free library is and the date. And I hope people would continue that, like just a handwrite the list of where that book has been. I just love that kind of story. So I think if we can get past the initial sales part, and especially on the business front, right, Robbie, if you have built this funnel and pipeline the way that it should be, really, we should be giving this book away. If you have a back end offer that is exciting enough, which is really where creators, course providers, consultants, that's how the real revenue is generated, then we should be handing that book out to every single person that might be a prospect for us or that can pass that on.
Which segues nicely to the question I asked about Kindle Flash Sale, because it's 99 cents and you only make 35% of 99 cents. So talk about the coffee you might be able to get at the end of selling those books. Like, how does this fit in with what you were talking about? I love the little free libraries and everything you just said. Like, that's so cool. I'm totally visualizing you pulling off to the side of the road and doing that.
I love it. But it fits perfectly into the marketing plan, not only for the price point, right? Like, I love any excuse to lower the price and make the book more accessible to other people. But as a book author, for marketing in the first place, you're always looking for an excuse to talk about your product. This, first and foremost, gives you something to talk about. We've got a sale going on. We've got other people. Plus, you're part of a community of other authors. So it's not just you out hawking books. It's you like, hey, guys, look at all these different perspectives, all these different insights, all these different industries that are out here sharing this information for you. One of my favorite emails that I write for this campaign is, what if you bought all of them? You could buy every single book in this campaign for 60, 70, 80, depending on how many people are participating, right? But look, that's an entire year's worth, maybe 2 years worth of wisdom and knowledge that you could apply. And if you learn one thing, one single thing from each of those books, how would that change your life or your business?
I need a copy of that email so we can include it in the swipe copy. That's fantastic.
Well, I'm afraid I'm going to have to charge you for that.
Yeah.
But, but that's really what I love being a part of this about, because this is a very abundant campaign. This is right up my alley. I love being a part of it. Yes. Do we get to talk about our own stuff? Absolutely. But I love elevating others. I love sharing other people's insights. I love the books I've read from your community of authors. Like, those have derailed me from where I was going. And I'm like, no, this is something that deserves my attention. And I've gone other directions because of what I've learned. So that's really powerful.
So Renee and then Angie, because you're so new to being part of an author community, I'm actually really happy for you that you came into this space that we've created with Bill, because I think it just changes everything to go from like a solitary space of writing to now you're the author and you actually have to, the ability to be part of this. And you're signing up for these again, and you've got like different excuses to talk about your book. So Renee, what was your experience as a new author coming into this, trying to figure out how to market your book? What were the other authors able to help you out with regarding that? And just
I certainly saw a boost in sales, like a big boost, over the time of the Kindle Flash sale. But I agree, it is an excuse to just be in community with these other authors and talk about my book. I think that it's really interesting. We are guides, and we're guiding leaders along a process. But what that sometimes means is that, okay, I'm kind of ahead, and the last thing, I'm not as interested in it because I'm really looking forward, right? And so maybe that's a marketing weakness for myself. But seeing how some of these other authors are marketing and having that space to just say, oh yeah, I want to tell you about this again. I want to tell you about this again. I want to tell you about, and as you said, I think everybody's already heard about it, but that's absolutely not true. So I really have appreciated being part of this as generous community of authors.
Yeah, thank you. I love hearing this. Angie, what is your take on the whole Kindle Flash sale, your experience?
Well, I'm a former engineer who loves people, so give me any excuse where I'm going to get a spreadsheet of 50 LinkedIn profiles of high quality people to connect with, and I'm there. And so there's definitely, the connecting with like-minded people and that aspect that all of us sound to share. But also, as a former engineer who loves people, I can get on board with some shameless self-promotion like nobody's business. So, like Bill, I have a box of books in the car. They go to kind of everywhere and anywhere I can possibly throw them. And so this to me was an opportunity to like boost visibility. And it really does work in a couple different ways. It isn't just sell books. There's obviously the opportunity to get some more reviews from quality other writers, but it really is fun to sit and hear what other people are experiencing as they write their books. I'm an extrovert. A lot of authors are not. And so it's just interesting to be in community with people who are sharing an experience, even if the output is wildly different subject matter.
I have people reach out to me occasionally and ask about a relaunch. And I'm like, we'll meet, let's figure out what your goals are. And most of the time I tell them, just sign up for Kindle Flash sale. Like, you don't need to do this extraordinary, huge thing. If you just chip away at it and, say to your community, hey, in a couple of weeks, I'm going to be part of this campaign. Would you buy the book when it's discounted to 99 cents and leave a review like in the next few weeks? And they're like, yeah. And then you just remind them. And it's like, you can do that with 25 people 3 times a year, probably get another 5 to 7 reviews every single time, but really re-engage that list of people. And you don't have to scale it, to hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people. It's just like reminding people, reaching out to the right people, getting those kinds of reviews are really precious because it's from the people who directly need the book. And then it's often from people who told you they read the book and they liked it and they benefited from it, but they never wrote a review because they don't understand the importance of it. So I'm like always need to be reminding. Part of my issue is that I'm so busy running the campaign, I'm not always able to take my own best advice. Like once a year, I manage to do that kind of effort compared to all the other times. So thank you all for being here. Bill, how can people find you and follow your work?
Super easy to find me at notarycoach.com.
Love your branding. Renee, how about you?
Right, we are at therosscollective.com.
Cool. And Angie?
AngieCallan.com.
Fantastic. So listen, I'm going to put all these links, including links to your LinkedIn and your books and your website and all the things in the show notes at bizbookpubhub.com, which we'll also find, if you're listening in, a whole archive, hundreds of past episodes, great content, great resources. You'll also see the curated directory of our hub partners, experts who will support you wherever you are in your author journey, writing, editing, publishing, launching, and marketing a book. We have free virtual networking events every month. The Kindle flash sales that we keep talking about. Go over to bizbookpubhub.com. Panel, thank you so much for this conversation. I really, really appreciated it.
Thank you, Robbie.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.